I'm honored to be the chairperson of the 2018 Cleveland Heart Walk, and in support of the American Heart Association mission to free the world of cardiovascular disease and stroke. Here at Parker, we're a very compassionate and competitive company, and we have a strong wellness program to help our employees with their health, their families, and with the help of the Heart Association and the Heart Walk, the entire greater Cleveland community can be healthier with all of our efforts. My dad is why. My dad had a heart attack when I was in 8th grade. So my brother and I just went to bed, and next thing we knew there was an ambulance outside. And fortunately, due to research and probably not back then, I didn't know it, but some of the work of the Heart Association, he lived for another 30 years from heart disease, several heart surgeries, several stents, on and on and on. In the family, his brothers and sisters all suffer from heart disease, and all of them eventually passed away from some type of cardiovascular disease. So it touches our family and it touches everyone.
Heart disease has touched my family. My son was born 12 years ago, and a few months after was diagnosed with a bicuspid aortic valve. Since then, he's been followed by a cardiologist, and hoping that through advancements in medicine made possible by the American Heart Association, that if and when he needs an intervention, it'll be seamless and most effective for him to live a long, healthy, and active life.
About 12 years ago, my wife just wasn't feeling well. It started off seeming kind of like the flu, except her back hurt. She just didn't feel well. Fortunately, we sent her had her taken to the hospital, found out she was having a heart attack. She got a few stents right away, came back a few weeks later for bypass surgery, and I'm happy to say that 12 years later, she is still doing well.
Stella is my wife. Through advancements in utero surgeries, she's alive and well today.
My mom also has been diagnosed with AFib. Part of the characteristics of that is her heart does not beat all the time in sync, and it is irregular at some points. It doesn't happen all the time, and it can be controlled with medication. But in her case, because of all the research that's come into play and all the public service announcements that they've had, she actually had a little stroke a couple of years ago. And because she knew the signs of stroke, she immediately sought attention, and they were able to reverse some of the effects that she was having.
Heart disease has touched me and my family greatly. When I was 18 years old, I went out of town with my dad, and he was actually engaged. He had 2 separate hotel rooms, and he wanted me and his soon-to-be stepchildren to bond, and he and my soon-to-be stepmother were in a different room. And I woke up to an ambulance, I woke up to screams and everything, so I ran in, and all I saw them was trying to resuscitate him and revive him in the tubes and everything, and he didn't wake up. And they said he had a massive heart attack. He had an acute angina. And then 4 years later, my brother, who was 32 years old, was jogging around. He was actually in really good health, or so he thought, and he died of a massive heart attack.
My why is my dad, who was given the choice of one last Christmas or life-saving quadruple bypass surgery, which he did choose, and 15 years later, he's with us today.
I am 51 years old right now, and my mother passed away in 1990, and she was 51, going to be 52, so I'm right about that age. It's just kind of like the way that it happened, in the sense that now I just definitely I think we all need to be a little bit more aware. I want to live longer than the life that my mother had.
Heart disease touched me personally. When I was 42, I found out that I had 2 arterial blockages, I think both about 50%. I had 2 little kids and a wife, and it was a scary time. I thought I was active, I thought I was healthy, I thought we were eating right as a family. When I was 40, I had a first physical, the complete body workover. It was fine, we just got a baseline. When I went back is when they determined that there was something that was different. So that led to an entire series of tests, and I was assigned to a cardiologist, and it concluded with an angiogram that confirmed the blockages. They didn't stent me because of the long life they hoped I would lead, so it was an aggressive prescription treatment. And what I learned is you can't outrun your DNA. So whatever your family history is what's going to get you. And so the message that I wanted to share is know your history, get some testing, and what you think you know may not be what's really happening.
A couple years ago, actually, I found out that my heart rate randomly would shoot up very fast, and I didn't know why. So I decided to pay more attention to it and stay healthy. It's just very important for me now to make sure I stay healthy for the long term.
My dad is the reason I support the Heart Walk. He passed away 17 years ago, 10 days after my wife and I got married.
Blood pressure was on my mind. I went in 2 or 3 times and they're like, okay, your blood pressure's been a little bit high these last couple times. You really need to do these things. And I realized that it's just small things that you need to start doing, and doing them as a family has really worked for me. So, going on walks, just even, 10 or 15 minute walks with your family once or twice a day, taking the dog for a walk really is where I got started. So it's turned into, going to the gym with my friends a couple times a week.
Why I walk is for my family. About 20 years ago or so, before we had kids, I thought I really need to get in better shape so I can be around for my kids when they're young and when they're older. And so I started walking, and I walk with my wife, I run with friends, and I bike with a lot of friends, so I try to stay in shape so I can be around for them.
I am walking for awareness.
So in the past year, my dad has suffered 2 miniature strokes, and he was kind of hesitant to even tell us about it at first because I was finishing up college and didn't want me to worry about it. So I kind of found out a little later. But in general, kind of just opened my eyes up to how scary things can be. Everything is okay with him, but definitely made me more conscious about heart disease and heart health, and more conscious about it in my family and friends.
I did my first CPR training in 1978, and I actually maintained training for 25 years just as a personal citizen. And then I also did more extensive training as a first responder when I was in New Jersey, and I actually saw it in action. So I saw CPR being applied to people in a life and death situation, and it was always a valuable experience.
Well, about 20 years ago, my dad had triple bypass surgery, and I think my kids were like 2 and 5. And he moved in with us, and I was really hoping I'd have him see the kids grow up. And kids got to be about 13 and 11, and he had his first stroke, and then about a year later he had the second stroke that took him from us. So that was my time with him. He was probably one of my best friends.
One of the things I really love about being here is that people all the way from the top to the bottom like to participate in making a difference in the community. The Heart Walk is a huge event, and it was great when we went last year, to see that big group of people in the yellow t-shirts and just everyone coming together as a community.
And I've asked my children to come out and do this walk. I've asked my husband, because I really do think that we all need to be a part of this.
Participating in last year's Heart Walk has really opened my eyes to the fact that my family is not the only one going through this battle with heart health, and it's really strengthened my connection to the community here at Parker.
It's great when Parker employees can come together for events like these, because we raise awareness and knowledge with each other and fund amazing research.
Every time the Host Products Division or Parker does something for charity or for the Heart Association, I try very hard to be involved because it makes me feel like I'm doing something for my dad.
Everybody has a heart, so everybody should participate, because you can only benefit from what the American Heart Association is doing in the way of research, education, and public service announcements.
Last year, $5 million was donated to local institutions here in the greater Cleveland area to help with research. But there was a request for over $10 million. So over 70 projects went unfunded, and those projects could impact someone in you personally or someone in your family. So we really need to get everyone together behind the mission of the Heart Association and make the greater Cleveland community healthy.